Hello. Welcome back to the Rival Recap Show, Episode 6. We're talking Gentlemen's Club football all day, all the time. Guys, 6 weeks are in the books. Where does your team stand? How do you feel about your team thus far? Are you a contender? Are you a pretender? Are you confident? Are you nervous? Are you excited? Are you ready to trade your star player, like Mr. Lynch? Are you ready to trade for someone else's star player, like Mr. Borelli? Are you waiting for the witch magic to kick in, like Mr. Sedano? Do you love just talking about your team in the group chat, like, say, Mr. Olson? Maybe Mr. Jones? Speaking of Mr. Jones, maybe you're waiting for Mike Boone to get you 1 point on Monday Night Football to try and keep your season afloat. Maybe you're just too busy getting goopy to even be concerned with your team this year. Or maybe, even further than that, you got so goopy that you got married and you won the Gentlemen's Club Championship last year, and it's probably time for a fire sale because your team is horrendous, Kevin Lamb. But guys, here we are, 6 weeks in. I hope everyone's ready for an action-packed second half of the season. We're not quite at the midway point yet, but we're getting there. The NFL teams are settling in, injuries are piling up, depth charts are becoming more secure, and I don't know where you stand, but I'm damn excited for the second half of this Gentlemen's Club season. As I said, it's not quite halfway, but I like to get excited. So without further ado, let's go for the Gentlemen's Club quick hits. That's what we're calling them now, the quick hits. Quick NFL.com update. They went 3-4 and are projecting our matchups last week, and I believe they are 22-20 on the season overall. So guys, they're just throwing darts at a wall. Good to know. Brian, I had the most points this week at 130. Myself and Eric are two repeats for that. We've both taken 2 weeks as the high score. Doesn't mean anything other than that our teams are pretty good. Lamb, first man to be a 2-time low scorer. And Lamb, you know what that means? It means you're paying the long 20. And guys, I did not double check this, I'll be honest. But I believe Lamb's paying me. Jamar Chase, 60-yard touchdown. If someone else in the group chat, please let me know if there was a longer one. I don't feel like checking again because it's not a fun thing to check, but I'm pretty positive it was me. So Lamb, $20, please and thank you. High start of the week, Joe Burrow, 32.5 points. If we're not talking quarterbacks, we're talking his fellow wide receiver, Jamar Chase, 32.2 for me. Low start of the week, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, 0 points for Kevin Lamb. Don't even know if he was featured in that game at all. I just don't recall seeing him at all. That was quite a Chiefs-Bills game, though, I will say. High bench of the week, John Sedano. Juju Smith-Schuster, 22 points on John's bench. It's got to be pretty exciting because John's teams look pretty messy. So maybe if he can get Juju going, get him into that lineup, maybe things will turn around for John, guys. But you'll notice in this program, I had Ryan working extra quick. I had Preview Brian working probably even quicker because there's some things I want to talk about in this league, some storylines, all right? We had a trade that happened today. You guys are going to see this on Wednesday, but I'm recording this on Tuesday. Happened today. Matt Lynch, Christian Borelli. A little bit of an uproar. Not the craziest uproar we've seen in the group. No one's yelling the R word. Yeah, just begs the question when you're trading a quarterback and a wide receiver for a quarterback and a wide receiver. If you look at it purely from a math standpoint, on their averages per week, Lynch lost the trade. Guys he sent average about 38 points a week versus Borelli's guys that he sent over to Lynch average, I believe, 35. So it's pretty close. It's about a 10-point gap between the quarterbacks, and it's about a 12-point gap between the receivers. So it begs the question, why? Why did Matt feel that this was the trade he needed to make? Russell Wilson's been fucking ass. He's been super inconsistent, and I understand that Matt needed to move on. But you got guys sitting in the waiver wire like Jared Goff, Marcus Mariota, to name two. There's a few more that are averaging about 17, 18 points a week. Would it have been better to just say, fuck Russ, put him on the bench, maybe even drop him and go for one of those guys and keep Cooper Kupp? Maybe. I know for a fact Mariota and Goff have been pretty freaking great this season. Not great might be an exaggeration. Goff's actually been pretty great. Except when both of them got picked up, they had 1 week stints on different rosters. Ian had Goff, and I believe he had 4 points or something the 1 week he had him, so he immediately dropped him. I think Mariota had like a 6-point game or something terrible the 1 week someone else had him. But if you look at the rest of their games, better than Russ. Anyway, so my 2 cents on the trade, if that wasn't enough that I just threw at you. I think it would have been a fine trade if Russ wasn't in the deal. If Lynch could have held on to Russ, maybe stashed him on his bench. Maybe Russ gets better. Maybe Lynch can trade him further down the road. And let Borelli fucking fight in the waiver wire. And you now have Mahomes, Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson gets about 9 or 10 targets a week, but just hasn't amounted to fantasy points yet. Because let's be honest, that Steelers offense, it's bad. It's really bad. I've been trying to watch them, trying to see Najee Harris come alive. Hasn't happened. Offensive line is bad. Mitch and Kenny Pickett, not very good. So last little piece on this trade that I'll offer you guys. Lynch is 2-4. He had the Broncos stack. Turns out it was a pretty bad stack, and it turns out if you want to have a stack, it's got to be a good one for it to work out, because Lynch is 2-4, and he rode and died. Fucking hell, I don't know how you say it in the past tense. He played ride or die on this stack because he went 2-4 in wins. Russ and Judy combined for 38.5 points. In losses, 16 points between your quarterback and wide receiver 2. It's miserable. So I understand why you needed to move on. Inconsistency was probably killing you. So, it's still hard, though. It's still hard because you're really banking on the fact that Deontay Johnson is going to be great. But, hey, you know what? Let's not take away from the fact that he did get Patrick Mahomes in this deal. Stud quarterback, right? Okay, pretty good. But, as I said, I think when you're giving up a guy who's on pace for over 400 points again and had 450 points last season for a 2-for-2 trade, it just doesn't feel right. It just feels like, we saw in the group, he clearly didn't shop him around. Borelli can sweet talk all he wants, but when you're trading a guy like Cooper Kupp, it's worth asking, It's worth asking the question. So they got the trade done. They're both going to move on. I don't know how much better or worse either team is for it. I think Lynch's team loses an intimidation aspect having Cooper Kupp, and Borelli just gained that. So I think Borelli's got a damn good team. That's all I'll say about the trade. A few more things. Mr. Weston, the waiver wire king of the week, picking up 2 guys that ultimately won him the week. He had no running back going into, I think he might have had McKissick potentially starting. He gets Deion Jackson. Can't be his name. Hopefully that's his name. 28 points, though. Ended up leaving the game, but 1 week, that's all you need. Taylor is probably back next week. He won you the week. There's no more to say than Deion Jackson winning you the week. And then that Ferguson guy, you needed a good tight end play, and thank God you did. Thank God you played him, because Sutton and Mike Williams did jack shit on Monday Night Football. So, Mike, you made the right calls. Hats off to you. Trying to highlight someone each week if I can. Mr. Rass texted me this morning saying he would be 5-1 if it wasn't for himself and Lamar Jackson. Well, John, if it wasn't for Lamar Jackson, you would be like 1-5. So I don't think there's any blame to be put on Lamar, and I don't know if that was the intention of the text. Sometimes John's words can be misconstrued. But, yeah, I mean, John, people make bad start sits. You did it against me when you benched Jacobs. You should have beat me. This week, I'm not really sure why you're blaming yourself or Lamar. I didn't catch the end of that Ravens-Giants game. I was watching the Jets. My red zone has been terrible. Has anyone else been having trouble with red zone this year? And if you have a good link, a good stream, please let me know, because I've been riding the struggle bus and have usually just been having to watch whatever game is on, and I was fortunate that the Jets were on Fox against the Packers. That was cool, so I got to watch that whole game. That was really fun stuff, I will say. But did Lamar fuck up at the end? Is that why Rass was blaming him? I don't know. But last little note, Mike Boone. Wow. Does just enough to secure Ian a win and take down the Goopy Boys. Guys, those are some storylines I wanted to go over before we got into the matchup, and that's why I needed the rest of the program to go a little quicker, because I slowed this one down a little bit. Hope you guys have a... Thank you, Brian, and I'm Ryan, and I am back after a much-needed week off, and I am here to recap the matchups as quickly as I possibly can, guys. Week 6, we started off, we got Brian versus Lynch, a couple of late-night fellas, a couple of guys who take it back to Falls Road, and you know what it is? It's behind Brian's 2 receivers, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, combining for over 60 points, something he's been looking for all season since he acquired Jamar Chase, and picks up a nice win, 130 points, 80 points for Lynch. Is just really nothing to say other than a whole lot of average. Cooper Kupp, his star player, now off his roster, only puts up 16.7. I mean, still had a nice game. He just didn't have a touchdown or two like he usually does, but 80 points for Lynch, and he takes an L, falls 2-4. Next one, it's Tony versus Ian Jones, and honestly, the highlight of this matchup was Mike Boone getting 1.4 on Monday Night football. Oh, golly, that was just must have been heart-wrenching for Tony to have to sit through. Tony's running backs did great. Nothing from his receivers. So much just the same score lines from a lot of his receivers. So I don't know who he's going to be starting next week against Brian. And yeah, between Diggs, Ayuk, were able to really put something together for Ian's team. Whole lot of trash beyond that, but Mike Boone in the end got it done. J.K. Dobbins' knee, not feeling great. Third matchup, Kevin Lamb versus Joe. We'll start with Joe, 127 points, 32.5 from Burrow. Great stuff from running backs of Saquon Barkley, Ramondre Stevenson, Travis Kelce, always good, 127 points. Joe, hats off to you, nice week. But honestly, other side of the ball, one of the saddest things I've ever seen. I know Brian's already touched on it. Didn't even end up filling the roster. Decided to keep like 7 receivers. I'm sure once it was trending bad, it just was over for him, that he just didn't even feel like making the move. But guys, 53 points, a new Gentleman's Club record for worst points in a season. We all knew that guy's head wasn't in it, but my God, this is sad to see. Next one, guys, it's Spencer versus Christian. Spencer pulling out a win with only 106 points. Really good stuff. Really good way to keep your season going. 4-2 for Spencer. Christian falls to 4-2. He had 87 points. Some highlights from Spencer's team is newly acquired Breece Hall, 20 points, and then Michael Pickman, 26. Sklar needs to get Kareem Hunt going for his RB2, and Sklar has a dangerous team. Christian, big man who just made a big trade. His team... 87, I saw this from Brian's team last week, whole lot of average, nothing going. It's just nothing to feel good about and nothing to talk about. Next one, guys, it's Eric versus Charlie, 117-93. Eric takes a win, goes to 4-2. Charlie falls to 3-3, 117 points. I mean, Austin Eckler's had 3 awesome weeks in a row. He's now RB1. Doesn't matter that Jeff Wilson put up half a point because Eric had good receivers. Well, at least Gabe Davis and A.J. Brown had solid weeks. Mark Andrews is a machine. And some decent little things out of his bench. But Charlie had a lot of buys, though. Charlie got past some of his big buys, Darren Waller, Amon-Ra, and now DeAndre Hopkins is back. So Charlie's team is going to look much different in Week 7 than it did in Week 6, and he's hoping to bounce back after only throwing up 93 points. Next one, guys, it is Ortiz versus Sedano. Ortiz, 100 points, an even more fortunate guy than, I believe, Sklar or someone else a few matchups ago. 100 points, gets a win, 5-1, first place for the Charm City Latins. Wow, but it's not all good. Hollywood Brown looks to be out for the season, and if you're looking at Ortiz's roster, he might only have one receiver in Amari Cooper because Isaiah McKenzie, I don't think he's it at the flex. Tyler Boyd will find his way into that lineup, I'm sure, and then maybe he ends up running three running backs. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. He's got Josh Allen, 26 points. Kamara had a nice week, and Sedano, 72 points is fucking miserable. I feel like it's the story of Johnny C's. I'm just seeing 8s, 9s, 5s, 4s, 8s, 4s, like. It's real ugly. I don't know how it's going to improve, but somehow it always does for that guy. So we'll see. And the last match of the week, it is Weston, the waiver wire king himself, over John Rast, 104-100. Weston needed 6 points on Monday night out of Sutton and Williams. I think he needed 3 points, and he only got about 6. So it made it a lot closer than it could have been. Weston definitely could have walked away with this one after Deion Jackson and I don't even know this guy's name. Jay Ferguson. Jake? I don't know. Maybe. Combined for 42 points and 2 crucial waiver wire pickups for Weston. Ultimate 1-week plays he just had there. So good for him. Rast, other side. But you know what? Rast got through all of his buys. Or not all of them, but some huge ones. Damian Pierce, Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, all done with their buys. All good for the rest of the season. So, his 2 starting running backs and his best player in Devontae Adams all went on bye. He still put up 100 points. John's got a strong team. Nothing to worry about going forward, guys. That's it. That's the matchups. We're going to send it over back to Brian for some previews of Week 7. Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. And I am Brian, back with the preview portion of the program. And here we go. Without further ado, we're going to get right into it in no particular order other than the Excel spreadsheet in front of me. Brian versus Tony. Tony has taken this one 4-3 over the years. The NFL.com Bowl, an absolute must-watch this week. Brian looks to level it up 4-4, but Tony has taken the last 3 years as well. Wow, good for him. Johnny plays Rast, and Rast has taken Sedano 2 out of 3 years. The John Bowl. John versus John. Rast has taken it 2 out of 3 years. Christian plays Ortiz. 3-3 split over the years. Excellent. Got to be a big Game 7 this year. Kevin and Spencer. Kevin Lamb absolutely houses this one. 5-2 over Spencer over the years, including they had the Week 14 matchup, so they played each other twice last season. Who do we got next? We got Joe and Ian. Another one. Joe owns this one. 5-2 over Ian. And another one that this was the Week 14 matchup last year. So they played each other twice last season. And Kevin actually swept Spencer last season, 2-0. Not a big surprise. Kevin's team was amazing. But Joe and Ian split it 1-1 last season. So big one this year. Who do we got? Charlie and Weston, and this is the one, guys. This is the one. Charlie and Weston. I know Ras was undefeated against Eric, but we got another undefeated one with a little more data because Ras has only been in it 3 years prior. Charlie is 5-0 against Weston. Weston has never beat Charlie. So I'm sure Weston would love to remedy that, wouldn't he? Lynch and Eric. Lynch loses this one, 3-4. Can't believe I just said it that way. But yes, Eric 4-3 over Lynch over the years. But Lynch has taken the last two, so it's on the up for him. And that is it. That is all 7. Wow, it gets through a lot quicker when I just rip through it like that. I don't have much more else to say for previewing Week 7, but I wish everyone the best of luck, and we'll send it over to Joe at Safe Space. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you, Brian. Gentlemen, it is 3:10 on Wednesday, 1 hour and 50 minutes before this episode is supposed to air, and I am filming now. I went to the Yankee game yesterday, was going to film after, and then my phone just stopped fucking working at the game. But we're back online. We have an episode to get to. Welcome back to I just poured my second coffee today, Starbucks French Roast. Should I do the Brian Marsh? The Brian Marsh. Brian, I think that's about 95.8 degrees. Just poured my second coffee of the day, and let's get started. I wanted to start before, as an open, to talk about the trade between Matt Lynch and Christian Borelli yesterday. I want to make 2 points on it. Point 1, Lynch traded his best player, Cooper Kupp, and it seemed like he traded him without shopping him across the league to anyone. He had a one-on-one conversation with Christian, found a deal that he kind of liked and went for it. And I have a problem with this. It kind of reminded me, are you ready for this reference? To the 2008 NBA trade between the Lakers and Grizzlies, when the Grizzlies traded Lakers Pau Gasol. Joe, why does it remind you of that? The Lakers traded for Pau Gasol, and they essentially at the time gave up a bag of shit. Just like assets that they weren't projected to turn into anything. What was ironic is Marc Gasol is actually in that trade and became really good for the Grizzlies, but he wasn't looked at to be a good asset at the time. And when that trade went through, the whole fucking NBA was pissed off because no one knew that Pau Gasol was on the block. And if they knew he was on the block, other teams would come in and make offers, thus driving up his price. The Lakers may have gotten him, but would have had to give up a lot more, or they might not have. This relates to Matt Lynch because if you're going to shop your best player, you have to at least make it known through like select people in the league that you're interested in their stuff, or league known, just hey guys, I'm going to trade Cooper Kupp. And like, if anything, if you wanted Mahomes, if you wanted a receiver back, you could have at least gotten Christian to drive up his offer, right? Like, you got fucking Deontay Johnson out of the deal back. You don't think you could have got Godwin or CeeDee Lamb? So that was my first point. Lynch, diabolical that you didn't shop around. Point 2, saying that, I kind of like the deal for Matt Lynch. And gentlemen, the reason why is I think the years of having a streamable quarterback in fantasy football are over. In front of me, I have the top quarterbacks in fantasy. You got Josh Allen, Lamar, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes. Elite, you're starting them every week. After that, there's a tier of guys that you're starting pretty much every week, and you feel good about it, but you don't feel great. That's Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert. After that, there's a huge drop-off. Trevor Lawrence, Kirk Cousins, Carson Wentz, Mariota, Geno Smith, who's been good this year. My point is, I just named only 7 guys, I think, 7 or 8 guys that like you feel good about starting every week, and only 4 of them are elite. That's a huge drop-off. And if our quarterback position is supposed to get 20, 25, 30 points, and you're only getting 10, you're going to be losing more weeks than that. So saying that, Lynch, I kind of like the deal. We'll see if it turns your season around, at least give you more consistency. And at the very worst, you at least don't have to watch Russell Wilson anymore. Gentlemen, welcome back. This candle is not lighting. There we go. Gentlemen, welcome back to Safe Space. Wednesday afternoon episode. First time ever, maybe. Let's get to segments. All right, a little best team, worst team action. Best team. widely dispersed voting this week. The winner had 4 votes. I think 2 people had 3 votes and 1 person had 2 votes. Best team, and I think this has got to be the first time this has ever happened, on a 3-game losing streak. John Rast, best team. I guess the league sees past his 3-3 record. Since John Rast had the fucking 3-0, oh, I might go undefeated. Oh, let me fucking text in the group me a second after Monday night games ends. Oh, looks, I'm at the top of the standings. Loses all 3 games. League thinks your best team. Lamar Jackson is an elite quarterback, as I just mentioned. He's had a rough few weeks. We'll see if he gets back on track along with the Ravens offense. You don't have to go against Wink Martindale and the Giants, baby. Jacobs and Pierce are a solid running back duo. Devontae and Debo are an elite receiving duo. And then he has Zach Ertz, tight end, whatever. That's a plug and play. And then he's got A.J. Dillon, Thielen, Pickens, all flex options. John, you got a very strong team. I think you may have cursed yourself with how cocky you got. It would be hilarious if you don't make the playoffs, but I think you will. You have a good team. Worst team. I think this is probably obvious. Worst team, Kevin Lamb, 1-5. Defending champion. I don't even want to go through his team. I want to just talk about Kevin. Do you have any respect for yourself, Kevin? They say you're never supposed to underestimate the heart of a champion. And after winning the championship last year, he gives us this. This is embarrassing. I texted this to Kevin, I'm a share of the group. This is like the Florida Marlins, when they won the World Series in 2003. And in 2004, they just traded everyone. That's disrespectful to your fan base, Kevin. James Ortiz hasn't submitted once about your team in the last 6 weeks. Once. You're disrespecting your fans. You should have some pride. This ain't it. Figure it out. Segments. I think we do this segment every year. How do you compare your fantasy team to a team in the National Football League? I'll start. I compare myself to the Bengals. Feel like we're doing all right. Feel like we're more focused on the playoffs after a disappointing end to last season. Probably have some losses in the schedule that should be wins, but I think we're generally trending in the right direction. Also, both led by Joe Burrow. Let's get to your submissions. Matthew Lynch. I think this submission's a little bit dated because he writes, I think it has to be the Broncos. Russell is running my team and the Broncos into the ground. Got praise coming into the season, but are underperforming. Lynch saw a problem and did something about it. Michael Weston. Also, the Broncos. No chemistry. Bad investments during the offseason. Javonte Williams is dead in both franchises. John Sedano also compares himself to, you guessed it, I'm like the fucking Broncos, unfortunately. They're horrible and have nothing. Even when other teams aren't scoring much on them, we can't even put up enough points. I'm so fucking mad at myself that I lost to 2 teams so far this year that both compared themselves to the Denver Broncos. Next submission, Charlie. Does anyone want to take a guess who Charlie compared himself? Yes, the Jets. Good enough to beat anyone in the league, but will lose a few embarrassing games and probably miss the playoffs. Can we pause? I'm all for what New York football, the Giants and Jets have done so far this year. I'm all for it. I love it. We've been so bad for the last decade. I love that both teams are doing well. The Jets aren't good enough to fucking beat anyone in the league. You want to go on the same field as Josh Allen in a few weeks and tell me you think you have a fucking shot? Take a cold shower. Anyone in the league? Spencer Sklar. You want to guess who Spencer compared himself? The Jets. I've got Brees. The Jets have Brees. We've got the same record. And both my team and the Jets are rising from the dungeon in the Gentlemen's Club and NFL. Spencer's team. I think he's 4-2, trending upwards. Brees Hall looked like a good trade. Eric Olsen. This fuck just compared himself to the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's read the commentary. Already won the ship once. Looking to do it again with another juggernaut. Can someone tell me, Marsh, do you mind, or someone maybe in the group chat, do you mind looking up the Chiefs record last year and the year before that and let me know if they were like 2-14 those 2 years? Juggernaut. Brian Marsh, speaking of you, Marsh starts his entry. He was really positing this one. I'm going to say the Rams, nothing to do with last year. Some big name talents on the roster, but no one's too sure how good the actual team is this year. Consistency has been the problem. Running game has been an issue, but we got some pretty awesome wide receivers. Yeah, Marsh has Jamar and Tyreek, which are awesome. They both went off this weekend. I believe Marsh won. Rams have Cup, just Cup. Allen Robinson's not awesome. Kevin Lamb compares himself to the Rams. Coming off a championship, riding high, believe the talent is there, but just look like absolute shit. You do look like absolute shit, Kevin. Embarrassed, you should be. Embarrassed. Tony Marullo compares themselves to the New England Patriots. Did everyone just pick their favorite team? The New England Patriots, cold start to the season, but the team is finally starting to come together and show some fight. Not a contender, but looks like the makes of a playoff team. Yeah, Tony, I've always said you have the same football acumen as Joe Judge. John Rast compares himself to the Ravens. Consistent performance, but questionable decision making. All this leading to a 3-3 record. Both teams asking, is Lamar the guy? Rast, I think this is a good comparison. The screenshot of Jim Jones complaining about the Ravens this week was fucking all time. Should they let Tyler Huntley get a go? Last one, Mr. James Ortiz, first place. Not best team, though. Minnesota Vikings, both 5-1, and have outperformed their expectations coming into the year. James, I believe you were voted best team coming into the year. There has certainly been some luck involved with comeback victories, but each franchise has found ways to win, led by star players. Fair comparisons. Let's get to Safe Space. Alright, gentlemen, how do we end every episode of Safe Space? We end it with some Safe Space submissions. Thank you and Brian. You're doing a great job this year with the content. Keep it up. Thank you. I appreciate that. I will always take compliments. I know this episode and the last episode have been rushed. Hopefully, in the coming weeks, I could do more planning and have more cleaner episodes. Eagles 6-0. Congrats. Giants 5-1. Tell Eric he's about to be swimming in my depth. I have no idea what this means. Arsenal are off to the greatest start in their history, 9-1. Okay, we have some fantasy football talk and we have some English football talk on this show. Go Yanks. Go. I told you boys, I like the team. I like the team this year. Bring on Houston. My new favorite matchup, Mr. Tony Marullo, the NFL.com Bowl, will be one for an ages with Jamar versus T. That team, as in Tony's, has more 10-point receivers than Tony knows what to do with. I hope he's had fun getting goopy, because I'm here to clean that team out. Marsh, I think you probably could have come up with a little bit of a better insult than I'm gonna clean you out. That fucking sounds like you're about to lick something of Tony's. Glad I took my victory lap at 3-0. I knew the losing was coming, and I had to enjoy it while it lasted. It's a loser mentality from John Rast. I'll always have September of 2022. I suggest the Jets and the Giants fans beginning to do the same. Fuck off. Was that necessary? You can't just let us be happy? God, Rast. Next one. This loss hurt a lot. Needed a slightly above average week to get back to 500 and just couldn't get it. 1-2, this is from Tony, by the way. 1-2 of the last 3 though, and I figure if I average advancing 1 spot up in the standings a week since I was in last, I'll be in the playoffs. That is Marullo fucking thought processes before I love how he thinks about fantasy football. Last year, player matchups. It fucking kind of makes sense. Still trending in the right direction. So Marullo submitted this before Monday night. Man, that sucks to have to wait all game to watch Mike Boone beat you. Tough. This is from Kevin. I owe the league an apology for not starting a full team. It was not due to apathy. Doing it would make me sick to my stomach. And I would have dropped guys for a kicker and defenses before Sunday night if it looked like I had any chance. He didn't. I did try to make trades before kickoff, but wasn't in a position to make one given my current roster constraints. Kevin has a lot of guys injured. I think Jonathan Taylor and Keenan Allen come back this week, so maybe Lamb will make a run. 2 left. There cannot be a worse week for me to play Kevin. 4 of your starters on a bye. Let's see if the young E's can sweep one out. I would argue that this is the best week for you to play Kevin if 4 of your starters are on a bye. Ortiz has a fresh mouth in trade negotiations. He will sit there and say your offer sucks and never send the counter offer. I'm Team Tony for life. Send in the screenshots. The league wants the screenshots. Ortiz. We'll never get something done this year. All right, gentlemen. Another abbreviated episode of Safe Space. I hope you have a lovely week. Go Yankees. Godspeed.